Today we will be presenting on the topic of individual differences in emotion regulation, specifically within organizations. And joining me in the discussion will be Sadina, Jianeng, Kevin, and Ed. We'll begin with an overview of the relevance of emotions, then explore the theories behind facets of emotional regulation by individuals in organizations, and finally we'll discuss their application in a case study. Imagine this, you're working as a barista and a customer orders a latte, but then after receiving their drink, they return saying that they in fact ordered a mocha and want to speak to your manager about your poor service now. This is sure to elicit a few emotions, which as researcher Frida put it, are intense feelings that are directed at someone or something. They're different to moods as they're elicited by a specific target, are short-lived and may cause a physiological reaction. Emotions in fact impact our lives more than they seem. They are part of our survival instinct, help us make decisions, tell us when we're feeling uncomfortable, and help us predict our own and others' behavior. Emotions also play a significant role in organizations, commonly in the service sector as described with the barista, but also more generally with regards to recruitment, motivation and work attitudes, productivity and creativity, leadership, and conflict management, which we'll discuss in more detail.
The following flowchart briefly examines the conceptual framework of emotions in organizations, that is, how factors such as personality, emotional intelligence, and culture affect emotions and their regulation, and how they affect an individual and organizational outcomes.
The process, completion, and result of varying work-related tasks, as proposed by Perkin and Fries, elicit distinguished emotional responses. For example, the excitement of starting a new task may soon turn to boredom or stress during the process of the task. The prospect of finishing the task allows for relief when the task is finished. Felt or expressed work-related emotions often need to be regulated according to organizational goals, and this is referred to as emotional labor. Emotional labor is the result of organizational display rules that control the way employees are expected to display their emotions. It can include the expectation for retail assistants to smile or for medical practitioners to refrain from displaying emotional responses. Individuals may regulate their displayed emotions through either surface or deep acting. Surface acting is the effort to control emotional expressions without necessarily feeling them. For example, a sales assistant might smile at customers without necessarily being happy. Deep acting is the attempt to align inner emotions with the organizational rules, like an aged care worker empathizing with their patient. Research on the consequences of emotional labor has shown mixed results. Some studies show that it can create mental stress from the forced display of emotions, whilst others show that it may increase job satisfaction as a result of being exposed to a positive environment.
Now, let's discuss the factors that influence individual emotion regulation, starting with personality. Personality is often categorized into positive and negative affectivity, where affectivity relates to the attitude with which we generally react to situations. Positive affectivity includes characteristics such as optimism, sociability, and alertness, and is generally associated with positive emotions. Storr, Sutton, and Peld observed that it created favorable workplace outcomes, such as higher pay and greater co-worker and supervisor support. Negative affectivity, on the other hand, is characterized by pessimism, aversive mood states, and the like, and often produces negative workplace outcomes. This is because individuals usually react more aggressively to negative situations and hence exert more emotion, quickly becoming emotionally exhausted and demotivated. This in turn sees a significant decrease in the individual's productivity. This has been expanded upon in Morris and Feldman's research, which suggests that affectivity may be predictive of emotional labor. They suggest that when an individual's affectivity and organizational emotion requirements conflict, emotional dissonance often occurs. As opposed to affectivity, emotional expressivity is the extent to which we outwardly express emotions, such as smiling and frowning. Positive expressivity allows one to align their emotion with required workplace emotions. This, as concluded by Cheng, Smith, and Neal, reduces emotional stress and creates better performing individuals. Emotional intelligence is how we are able to monitor, discriminate between, and use emotions to guide our thinking and actions. Let's say a sales manager has created an amazing revenue increasing idea, but knows his boss is short-tempered in the morning. Having emotional intelligence means that he will recognize his boss's temperament, regulate his excitement, and wait until the afternoon to approach his boss. Salovey's and Grievel's model elaborates that emotional intelligence is based on the interdependence of the following four factors: self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management.
Emotion regulation is greatly influenced by one's culture. Worldviews are how people see the world and themselves through their culture. They can help explain people's behavior, including how they regulate their emotions. Often, worldviews relate to deep acting strategies, including reappraisal and emotional evaluation. The appropriateness of emotional responses in social relationships is also influenced by culture. In collectivistic cultures that encourage in-group goals, for example, it is expected that individuals downplay their emotions for the benefit of the group. Similarly, appropriateness of emotional responses in relationships of status differs between cultures. Some cultures emphasize hierarchy by encouraging emotions that maintain status, whilst other cultures encourage a greater freedom of emotional expression.
Studies have also illustrated that positive affect and emotions contribute towards improving a range of organizational outcomes. Performance, decision-making, creativity, absence and turnover rates, pro-social behavior, negotiation and conflict resolution, and leadership have all been shown to improve. Max Outland shows the effect of emotional regulation in his 1998 study of international food and beverage company, Tasty Food. He measured performance and emotional competences. Performance were judged based on bonuses, which were awarded on the performance goals achieved. Outstanding performers were in the top one-third of bonuses awarded, whilst the typical performers were in the remaining two-thirds. Emotional competency was based on the behavioral event interviews that measured 12 competences. Some of those include achievement orientation, analytical thinking, and self-confidence. A competency qualification algorithm were later developed to classify performers as low or high. This table shows the positive relationship between high-performing, emotionally competent performers and those considered outstanding. Also, after implementing competencies algorithm-based recruitment, the turnover rate greatly improved, decreasing by 42.7%. From this study, we can conclude that executives with high emotional competencies perform better than their counterparts, and emotional competency-based recruitment decreases turnover rates.
Also, the four factors of emotional intelligence were closely related to the competencies evaluated in this case study. Achievement orientation and leadership correlated to self-awareness, while developing others, interpersonal understanding, and organizational awareness correlated with social awareness. Flexibility was associated to the self-management factor, and self-confidence was associated with the relationship management factor. Thus, the study validates research showing that individuals with greater emotional competency have better job outcomes. As per the results and conclusions from the case study, our recommendations for best practice are to implement emotional competency-based recruitment to improve job outcomes and reduce turnover, and to implement emotion regulation programs for existing employees to improve emotional intelligence. In conclusion, personality, emotional intelligence, culture, and display rules all affect our emotions and our ability to regulate them. Emotional labor, through the forced modification of emotion for the sake of display rules, can foster emotional dissonance, but may conversely increase job satisfaction. Also, individuals with positive affect or high emotional intelligence are more likely to have better job outcomes, as opposed to those with negative affect and low emotional intelligence. And thus significant value must be placed on emotions and their regulation in organizations.